The first tooth is not attached to anything. It floats in cold rotating light, pale and curved, shaped like a blade of bone but moving like a living animal at its base. A small root sac pulses, the sac contracts once and the tooth turns in zero gravity, then more teeth appear behind it. Dozens of pale shapes drift in a slow ring. They circle a smooth oval body suspended at the center of the organ vault. That body has no head, no limbs, no eyes, no mouth. Its surface is seamless, quiet, and closed. The teeth snap shut around a suspended prey form, but the adult never opens. There is nothing to open. The Orbital-Tooth Brood does not carry teeth inside a jaw. Its teeth are separate young, living larval bodies orbiting around the parent like a temporary moving mouth. Each tooth, young, has its own root-sac, its own turning rhythm, and its own small pressure sense. Yet, while they are immature, they obey the adult's pulse. The adult's body releases a low-pressure wave, the tooth halo tightens, the prey hangs between them, drifting in the organ vault with no floor below and no ceiling above. Biological cables sway in the background, cold lights rotate through suspended debris. The teeth circle faster, not as a swarm, but as a ring of offspring acting like one mouth. The first bite comes from the side. 3 tooth, young snap shut against the prey surface, anchoring it. Their root-sacs flare pale. A second wave follows from above. Then, a third wave closes from below. No jaw moves, but the space around the adult bites. The adult remains smooth and mouthless. That is the wrongness of the creature. Every horror signal says teeth should belong to a mouth. Here, the mouth is a family structure. The adult provides rhythm, pressure, and position. The young provide impact. Together, they form a feeding ring that exists only while the brood remains synchronized. A single tooth, larva drifts close to the adult's surface. It is not a tooth in the ordinary sense. Its outer edge is hard and pale. Its underside is soft, wet, and living. The root sac at its base beats like a small pressure organ, answering the adult's invisible pulse. Tiny anchoring folds open and close along its side. It is an offspring, but for this stage of life, its job is to bite for the parent. The halo widens. The prey tries to drift away, but zero gravity makes escape slow and strange. Every motion becomes a rotation. Every push sends the body into another tooth's path. The adult releases another pressure pulse, and the young adjust their orbit, spacing themselves into a ring that no single body could form. Then the teeth bite in sequence, not all at once. One closes, another anchors, a third twists, a fourth releases and returns to orbit. Their coordination keeps the prey suspended in the feeding zone without the adult needing jaws, limbs, or a face. The adult feeds through pressure and contact, absorbing what the young hold in place. Root sacs begin to glow. This is the danger point in the species' life cycle. The brood can feed only while the young remain immature enough to follow the adult's pressure rhythm. As the root sacs mature, each young begins hearing its own pulse more strongly than the parent's. One tooth hesitates. It misses the bite wave. The halo shudders. The adult sends another pressure pulse, stronger than before. Most young obey, curving back into formation. But the hesitant one turns at the wrong angle. Its root-sac glows brighter. It is beginning to detach from the family mouth. The prey shifts. A gap opens in the ring. For the first time, the adult looks vulnerable, although it has no face to show fear. Without the halo, the oval body is only a sealed torso in zero gravity. It cannot bite, it cannot chase, it cannot hold prey. Its power exists outside itself, carried by children that will not remain children for long. The young tighten again. The adult forces one more feeding wave. Pale teeth circle the prey in a spiral. their root sacs flashing one after another. The suspended body is anchored from multiple angles. The orbit becomes beautiful and terrible, a mouth made of separate lives, moving around a parent that has no mouth of its own. Then a second tooth breaks rhythm, it drifts outward, no longer matching the ring its root sac opens like a small dark flower, the body turns away from the adult and snaps once into empty space, testing its own bite. It is not part of the mouth anymore, it is becoming an independent predator. The adult loses a section of its halo, the remaining teeth try to close the gap, but their pattern is uneven. Some still obey the parent, some pause between pulses, some bite too early. The prey is no longer held cleanly in the center. It rotates, slipping through the broken geometry of the brood. The organ vault turns around them, suspended debris drifts through the tooth, ring translucent cables sway without gravity. Cold lights rotate over the smooth adult body and catch on the pale edges of the living teeth. The background does not become a world, it only shows the movement, orbit, depth, rhythm, failure. Another pressure pulse passes through the adult, the mouthless torso vibrates, the young answer weakly. The feeding halo was never permanent anatomy, it was a developmental stage, a temporary arrangement between parent and offspring. The adult used the young as teeth, the young used the adult's rhythm to learn coordinated biting before they could survive alone. Now the lesson is ending one tooth, larva releases from orbit completely. It turns away from the adult, root sac pulsing to its own rhythm, and drifts into the organ vault as a separate creature. It still looks like a tooth, but it no longer belongs to a mouth. Then another follows, and another. The adult's ring becomes uneven, then sparse, then nearly gone. The remaining tooth, young, make one last coordinated bite around the prey. But the wave collapses halfway through, a few teeth anchor. Others detach. The prey body drifts free in fragments of motion, no longer held by a complete orbit. The adult floats toothless. Its oval body is smooth again, silent and closed, surrounded only by fading pressure, ripples. It does not grow replacement teeth immediately. It must wait for another brood cycle, another halo of young, another temporary mouth. The detached tooth, young, spread through the vault. Each one carries the memory of the parent's pressure rhythm, but each root sac now beats independently. They snap at drifting particles, they rotate around debris. They test angles, timing, and distance. What had been one family mouth becomes many small hunters. The final young lingers near the adult. For a moment, it drifts close enough to rejoin the halo. Its pale blade turns toward the oval body, its root sac pulses once in the old rhythm, then it turns away. The adult remains suspended in zero gravity, mouthless and still, while its former teeth drift into the cold rotating light. The final image holds on the empty oval body at the center of the organ vault, surrounded not by a mouth, but by the absence of one. Its teeth were never attached. They were children, and they have left.